So welcome everybody tonight here with Everything ALS. This is the second session of our presentation talking about some of the legislative issues going on. And we are incredibly blessed to have a team. Lisa Deegan with our organization with Everything ALS is going to introduce our panelists tonight who are going to be speaking. And we've had a lot of questions from the Congressman earlier. We've got a lot of more questions in the chat box for all of us to address, but we have the people who have made the difference. So Lisa Deegan, I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm going to be on the panel as we go on forward as well. So Lisa, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was awesome hearing the Congressman speak, and I hope everybody found it very informative like I did. I must say, it's so nice to see so many familiar faces on tonight's webinar. I love looking through and, I recognize so many of you. So I'm excited to be part of the changes that we're hoping to see for our ALS patients. For those of you who don't know, I lost my younger brother, John Pecoraro, to ALS in 2018, and he was only 47. So he was a huge warrior. He spread awareness and the need for funding and a drug that works. And I was able to go to Capitol Hill and raise some awareness as well. So, but let's get to it. I want to introduce and give a little background on our panel that consists of some amazing people that have been instrumental in making strides in the fight for the rights for all ALS patients who are fighting for their lives. So Michelle, I'll start with Michelle. So who's obviously, you guys know who Michelle is, who's an awesome moderator on our webinars. So Michelle's an attorney who loves brain science, and with her journey of losing her amazing mother to an untreatable disease and her dogs to ALS, she's fiercely committed to the ALS community and research to help find a cure. We'll also have Sarah Diaz, and she's also part of our Everything ALS team. She's a medical student at Washington University and a critical care registered nurse at Barnes Jewish Hospital. So after Sarah witnessing her dad with ALS, she's very passionate about caring for patients and helping to find a cure. So also with us, we have Krista Thompson, Nicole Cimbura, and Sandy Morris. They have been helping to make a huge difference with their advocacy efforts surrounding ALS, and together they're creating pathways and access to investigational therapies until treatments arrive for ALS. So Krista Thompson and Nicole Cimbura run the lead legislative support for I Am ALS. So a little bit of background on Christa. Her husband, Olin, was diagnosed with ALS in 2018. She's an English high school teacher. They have 3 sons. Christa is the elected chair of her town's Democratic Committee and a member of Rhode Island State Committee. Nicole is a widow, a mom, a teacher, and a passionate advocate for ALS. She believes education is the key element to bring about lasting change for ALS and has traveled to Washington, D.C. to raise awareness for ALS since her husband Mike was diagnosed in 2015. Some of their efforts, which there's a lot, and I know we don't have so much time, but I want to highlight some of their great efforts. So they're creating an ALS caucus, which currently has 136 representatives and 20 senators. They're creating 2 bills that will cover ALS patients for open label extension and expanded access programs with NIH funding and an FDA Center of Excellence for Neurological Diseases. We also have Sandy Morris, who spearheads clinical trials for I Am ALS. Sandy is 51 years old. Diagnosed with ALS in January of 2018. She's married to her best friend and has 3 amazing children. Sandy Morris spearheads the clinical trials for I Am ALS. Oh wait, did I already say that? I think I did. Some of Sandy's efforts include updating the guidance document. She did a lot of work on that for the clinical trials for the FDA, and the clinical trials team is working on meeting with over 22 ALS drug sponsors. So they've created a thumbs up or down rating system that will rate every trial for trial design, and it's called PACT, P-A-C-T-D, formerly Golden Standard. So this will clearly define what the expectations for clinical trials will be moving forward. And last but not least, we have Team Stevens, Eric and Amanda Stevens. Team Stevens is focused on creating new pathways for therapies that show promise but take a long time. You may recognize Amanda and Eric. They had an appearance on the Ellen Show, Eric was diagnosed with ALS in 2019 at the age of 29, only 1 month after his wedding. Both Eric and Amanda attended Cal Berkeley, where they met. Eric was a football player and Amanda played soccer there. And Eric eventually went on to play for the LA Rams and retired and became a member of the Los Angeles Fire Department. So they've done a lot of work in DC as well. Eric, Amanda, and his brothers, and I even think a cousin was involved with it as well. And they have helped to advocate for access to trials and treatments. So so Sarah Diaz from Everything ALS is going to be monitoring our whole chat and taking the questions from our audience. So our panel is here to help and to answer, and we appreciate you all, and thank you also very much for being here tonight. So that's it. Thank you, guys.
Hi guys, like Lisa said, my name is Sarah. I'm basically going to be monitoring your chat, so if you have any questions for any of our wonderful panelists, please go ahead and type them in. I first want to let them kind of make any comments that they had on what we have discussed tonight. So Eric and Amanda, you guys have anything about what we heard from the Congressman and from Alison and Reyn?
Yeah, earlier Michelle had asked me to just kind of briefly explain our experience with traveling to DC and meeting with these congressmen and senators. And I think, of course, when Eric was first diagnosed, I think as well as everyone on this call, you really don't know what to do. You're told you have this life expectancy and there's not many treatments. There are some treatments, but they're stuck in these trials. And then you hear about the trial design, and we just knew that this wasn't right and something had to be done. And so we reached out to other ALS patients, some who have been extremely helpful in our efforts. I Am ALS, Brian Wallach, Sandy Morris, Bill Green, Mike Henson, Mark Bedwell. I mean, we traveled to Washington, D.C. together. And like Congressman Fortenberry said, the meetings in person, I think, make all the difference. We met with over a dozen congressmen and senators in D.C. We were persistent with getting meetings with them. Couldn't get it with the member, we got it with the staff. And like they said, you just have to tell your story, be respectful, but passionate, and tell them the situation that you're in, the treatments that are showing results, but patients don't have access to them. And every single congressman or senator we met with, their jaws just dropped. I mean, they had no idea. Like Congressman Fortenberry said, they thought right to try fixed the whole issue. And many of them asked, well, why can't you use right to try or expanded access or compassionate use or open label extensions? And we just briefly explained to them that none of these are working for ALS currently. And I think just kind of echoing what Congressman Fortenberry said is just being really persistent and not taking no for an answer, telling them the situation you're in. I mean, I got emotional in almost every meeting, and it just kind of pulls at their heartstrings a little bit more when they see you in person and they can put a face to a name. I know that a lot of us might not have the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., and so getting family members or friends or other people to lobby for you, I think, is really important, or trying to get a Zoom meeting with them. But just being able to put that face to a name makes all the difference. And I think it really helped in our efforts. And we're so thankful for what Congressman Fortenberry and Congressman Quigley have done. Reyn has been amazing. I didn't know Alison, but she sounds amazing. And yeah, we just had to educate them about ALS, and we asked them to join the caucus, and we're still on them about co-sponsoring these bills, and just staying in touch with them and keeping that relationship with them, I think, is really important. So yeah, that's kind of our experience with the lobbying in DC.
Wonderful, thank you. Krista, Nicole, and Sandy, do you guys have any comments from what we heard with the Congressman, or anything to piggyback off of what Amanda just said?
I was just going to say, building these relationships are huge, guys. We need everybody to do it. There's 400 members in Congress, in the House of Representatives. So in order to get a bill passed, you're looking at least, we would love to see 250, 275. So the majority is there, right? So when it goes to a vote, we know we have it. It's not going to be like, is it close? Is it not close? We know. So we need everyone out there reaching out. IAMALS has wonderful resources on their website. I know people had put their link earlier on there. Please check it out. And if you need additional help, reach out to any of us. We are happy to share with you emails that we've done. We are continually writing around the clock. My goal is I tackle Colorado, that's where I'm from, but then I have reached out to others. We have friends, actually, our dear friend Lee is in the Stevens area. So we've been dealing with Representative Ruda for a few years, and we were able to bring, with the help of Zach Commons, who is his health LA, them on board at these different initiatives, and then to have people like the Stevens who are also following up, right, who are working with them too. It's like as soon as something comes up and they hear from us, they're looking into it right away. So those relationships are truly key. And again, if you guys need help, any of us are willing to help you with that. But those personal relationships are how we're going to get things done, and we need everyone to lean in and help us.
Wonderful. Krista, you have anything?
Yeah, thank you. And it's great to see everyone. I want to thank you guys for putting this together, but I am going to piggyback off of what Eric and Amanda said and Nicole said. And, Representative Congressman Fortenberry said, it takes a team effort. And I think that that's important to remember is that, and I'm from New England, so I'd be remiss if I didn't quote Coach Belichick by saying, you have to do your job. And whatever that job is, it can be calling your rep's office or senator's office, but we all have a job to do, which is dealing with the devastating effects of this disease. So the fact that we can set aside a little bit of time to advocate for legislation that's going to give people hope, I think you have to decide what it is that you're going to do. And what Amanda said is right. We can't all go to DC, but our congressmen and women are going to be home in their home districts in August. So one thing everybody can do is get in touch tomorrow, find that district office and reach out and say, are you willing to have a meeting with me? Are you willing to have a Zoom call with me? Because once they see you and hear your story, I think that they will be willing to work with you. And it is about the personal relationships and forming that bond so that they're there for you. Because I was very compelled to hear Congressman Fortenberry's story. It doesn't matter who the person is or the family member. Once you actually hear the story, no one in an office is going to tell you they don't want to help, and they might not be able to help exactly in the way that you want them to. But if you start the relationships, they're your reps, they're your congressmen and women. Specifically your district, the constituent services staff, they should be working with you, and they want to work with you. That's something I also wanted to stress. And if they don't, you can move on to another office. But I think that one simple thing, just contacting and saying, is there an opportunity for me to have a phone call or a meeting when they're home in the district in August? I just put a link in the chat for folks to write a letter, and I'll wrap it up, but I'm going to say too, please reach out to us. We will help. Everyone on this call seems to be so helpful. So it's great to see everybody. And so thank you for having me, and I'll end it there so Sandy or anyone else can jump in, but thank you.
Yep, I'd love to jump in. It'll be an echo, so forgive me, but I guess consistent messaging is a good thing. The bottom line is this: it's your story, and it's real. And ALS is tragic. It's been tragic for 150 years. Get your story out there. We have a saying, and it's from heartbreak to action. Don't just leave them with heartbreak. Tell them what they can do to help us. We've mapped it all out. Every single thing we've ever done is to make sure that there is access to investigational therapies until the treatments arrive. And right now there isn't. Less than 1,000 opportunities to take investigational therapies. There's 30,000 US ALS patients at any given moment. That is crummy math, y'all. We cannot be surprised that the science is not advancing when, look at the seats on our bus. Fight for what you believe in. Your story is incredibly important, and they care about you, but they can't care about you until they know about you. So take it from heartbreak to action. Sit down, tell your story, email your story, call them. Persistence is key. Somebody put a question in, which is kind of crazy. I could actually read it without glasses, but somebody put a question that said, how many people have actually joined the caucus versus how many of you asked? And that's a really customized answer, but I'm going to give it a go. There are a lot of people that won't join a caucus, don't want to join a caucus, but they are friends to ALS. So we did not build this caucus for a popularity contest. And we didn't build this caucus for people to say, hey, I'm a member of the caucus. We built this caucus for action. And we have a legislative bill that will help us get access to therapies for the first time in ever, guys, in ever. So we don't care if they're in the caucus. We only care that they're in the caucus because we have their attention. We built the house for effective communication. And we say to them, this is where the rubber hits the road. You join this caucus to help us. Do not sit in this house and not listen to what we need. And now we go back out to the friends to ALS and say, hey, I recognize you didn't want to be in the caucus. We have no problem with that. But now we need your help. And you told me you would help me. So truly, everybody has the ability to get their legislator on board, but they can't get on board unless they know about you, until they care about you.
I was going to piggyback.
Oh, sorry, Nicole. I am not 51, and I'm so sorry, Lisa. I am 54 tomorrow. I was 51 at diagnosis, my fault. I probably steered you in the wrong direction. And I just want to say how excited I am about that, because I had a 50% chance of getting here. So that's a pretty big birthday. Sorry, Nicole.
I was just going to say to you, for those of you who find it really difficult to travel to your offices, maybe they don't have an office close by, depending on where you live. Mike and I were fortunate enough that we actually had representatives, their staffers come to our house. So I've had someone from Senator Bennett's office come to our house. Representative DeGette is not our representative, but we built a relationship with her. Her staffer has come down to our house. And that is also really eye-opening, because then they're like seeing what the reality is of a person that's on a feeding tube, that's on a vent, that has a wheelchair, who needs to put an elevator lift in their house, things like that. So don't be afraid to ask that too. Say, it's really difficult for me to travel to you. Would someone from your office be willing to come and meet with me? And again, it happens. And I know it's happened across the country. So don't be afraid to ask that too.
One more thing, I see a question about how you find out if your legislator has joined the caucus. That is on the IMALS website under Take Action, I believe. The only critique I have of that is that it's like a rolling one, and it's not in alphabetical order, and it's not by state. So it's a little bit difficult. And I have kind of expressed that we should make that easier for people to just see if their legislator is on, but it is out on the website. So I wanted to answer that.
So as we can see, everything that we've heard tonight is all about getting us more frequently, more together, and everyone being pushed to their own individual senators and congressmen. Just by watching the chat can see that people are interested in finding those things out. So tomorrow I will make sure that both the ACTS-ALS Stevens Nation and I Am ALS websites, the direct links to finding your individual state representatives will be provided to all of us on Everything ALS. That way we can make it just an easier step. We're going to use their sites because they've already created these wonderful mechanisms. And that way tomorrow there'll be a big push on Sandy's birthday. Happy birthday, by the way, as well as Peter's birthday too, to have a big push for us as a fight for legislation for these to get passed in the 2020 year. A few of the questions that have been kind of popped up that either might have not directly been answered yet, but we can pose to our panelists and see if they have any words of advice. One of the biggest things people are currently asking is how basic research, specifically biomarker research, will be funded, and is this part of any of the current bills? I know we touched base on biomarkers earlier, but I didn't know if anyone had any specifics about biomarkers in current legislation. Michelle, do you know anything about?
Yeah, so I don't think there's any.
We don't have the biomarkers in the legislation.
I don't think there's any specific legislation that is addressing that. But you know, the funds that go to the NIH, right, that those funds can be used for different types of research depending on who's out there in the community looking for it. So there's nothing in the legislation that specifically allocates how the money's to be spent, just giving the money to the NIH.
That's right. The biomarker is addressed in what Lisa was, when she introduced me. The clinical trials team has put together what is called the patient-centric trial design. And it's actually going to be a star rating. Biomarkers are addressed in there, and drug companies do know that they will be rated based on humane and efficient clinical trials, not on safety and efficacy in any way. We are not doctors, we are not scientists. We're just saying that, hey, we're also not zebrafish, and you can build a human model of a clinical trial for us. We will not be entering into these trials that you guys have had in the past, and we can do better, and we have. So no, for legislative, we have not done the biomarkers, but it is absolutely called out, and all the drug sponsors in the ALS space know that we are counting on them to be bringing biomarkers forward.
You know, I'll jump in just to say that we had a sneak peek at what IMALS developed for their dashboard for these clinical studies. And when it rolls out, you guys, your mind's going to be blown. So in essence, what they're going to do is Yelp for ALS. Like, you're going to be able to go in and they're giving the ratings for these different trials based on whether they have placebos, whether they have open label extension, whether or not they have, you know, all of these things that everybody in the ALS community has been asking for. They're going to be giving you the answers, and it's a list of every clinical trial that's out there for ALS. So I think you're going to be really, really like the resources that they've provided there. It's going to, and then when we talk to people in the future, we invite some of these pharmaceutical companies to come on and talk. We're going to invite the people that are 5-star companies, right? Not the people that are 1-star companies. And the people that are going to get enrollments in their studies are the people that are going to build the studies that benefit you guys. We want, again, patient-centric study design, right? So make sure when they submit their study designs to the FDA that they're including or advocating for open label extensions, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And both the trial rating system that we've come up with, along with the promising dashboard, promising therapies dashboard that Nadia's team has come up with in IMALS, really go hand in hand, and it's going to give people a lot of information that they're going to feel more comfortable with. You're not going to have to be Googling for hours and days and weeks, because so much of it will be in one spot. It will never be perfect, right? And over in IMALS, we say the perfect is the enemy of the good, and we're willing to go with the good. In 150 years of madness, we're looking for that base hit, and we plan on getting there.
That's wonderful. So again, we're back to the theme of the night. Everyone's got to participate. Everyone's got to get together and be a part of talking to their individual legislators for all these individual bills, so that way we can get the NIH money passed, and then that can be part of that. And that talks to the question about supplements as well. It's under that same umbrella. We just need to work to get the funding passed, and then we can allocate it to these different resources, because ALS is different. We don't have those drugs and medications that are available to things like cancer. So it would be nice if supplements and more of a functional medicine pathway could be covered for ALS patients as well. In terms of other questions, there's a lot of questions asking about, we talked about, talking to people individually, but someone asked about the Senate not having a lot of Democratic support. So is there anybody that you guys know specifically that kind of is either teetering on the edge of potentially being a supporter, and that we need to really rev up our game in discussing and educating them and presenting our stories? Do you know of anyone specifically that we could come to as a team?
Sorry, quick question. What do we mean we don't have a lot of Democratic support in the Senate? On what bill? What do we mean?
So for co-sponsors for the
38.
bill, HR 7269.
No.
No.
Okay, I'm reading a question from one of our patients that provided it.
Oh,
It's
sorry. I just,
3872 PPA, Sandy.
oh,
It's PPA, Promising Pathways Act. That
yeah,
bill is fairly new, and we only have the 3 original co-sponsors that have come out. We are all working on together, reaching out to our senators and such. However, with the unique times that we're in right now, it is taking a little longer to get back to people. But any of you guys, reach out to both of your senators. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. We need them. This is a bipartisan issue. It should not be a political issue. And just when it came out of the gate, that bill was co-sponsored originally by 3 Republicans, and that's currently where we're sitting.
yeah, sorry, Sarah, I misunderstood. Bottom line is this, that bill, like Nicole just said, it just came out in the COVID. Also, people don't jump on bills right away. They look around to see what others are doing, and they're talking, and they start, figuring out if that's a bill they can support. We usually start where the rep side joins, and then they see that ball rolling, and then the senators will be looking at it. But the way I've seen it with the other bills that we've been working on, you really, like, the reps start joining, and we start gaining momentum, and then the senators go, well, wait a minute, what do you guys got going over there? Maybe we should take a look at it. So I'm not actually worried about that bill right now. It's newly introduced. It's through the COVID. It is going to take amazing tenacity and persistence. And we need you to tell your legislator that they should be on that bill.
Well, and I would also just like to add about the Democratic side. I think that if everyone is calling the next couple of weeks, people are going to, the staffers will start talking, and Democrats will start talking to Republicans, and they will, if we create a buzz, they will talk, because they're together, they're always talking. I like to champion Sheldon, Senator Whitehouse, who is the original co-sponsor for the SSDI early access bill. He is very concerned about ALS, but the more we're talking to our reps and senators, and they're talking to each other, if we do our jobs, there will very soon, I'm sure, be some Democratic sponsors for that, the PPA. So it is the kind of thing where we want people talking about ALS on the Hill, and if we make enough noise, they will be, because we've seen it happen.
That's right.
I would just jump in and say, when you talk to your congressmen or your senators, make sure you lead your conversation with them with the 3 things. I want to know if you're a member of the ALS caucus, either in the House or the Senate. Number 2, what's your position on the Act for ALS 7071, and what's your position on the Promising Pathways Act? So the 7071 is the House bill that Congressman Fortenberry and Congressman Quigley sponsored. There is a identical bill that was just introduced in the Senate. So it's going to be a mirror bill, right? So you need to ask them specifically that and tell them your story, but always make sure that you get a specific answer. And then, on the Everything ALS page that we have, you're certainly post. I visited Congressman, in my state, I visited Kyrsten Sinema, and Kyrsten Sinema gave me these answers on what she's going to do for ALS in these 3 things. Is she going to be on the caucus? Is she supporting this legislation? We'll send out in the email that we send out to you guys after this call some questions to make sure we consistently answer. So we'll work with the Stevens and with IMALS to make sure we're all aligned on those same answers we're getting. And then we all want to know. So if somebody in Arizona asks their senator and their senator doesn't support it, I want everybody else in Arizona to know so that they can contact them, right? This is the whole part of our messaging. And what we also want to ask people to do, I know it's getting late and we're losing people on the call, so I want to make sure we introduce this. We want every person with ALS, every caregiver, to record a 60-second, 2-minute video. You can do it with your iPhone. We want you to post that on your page, and we want you to tag it, right? And we'll send out in the email going out to you what that message should say. And then we're going to give you, we want you to tag your congressman, to tag the members of the caucus. But importantly, we want all of us to use the same hashtags. So we've got a couple of those: fighting for my life. That's going to be one of our hashtags, right? Fighting for my life. And then when you put it on your page, then you want to say to 10 of your friends, do you know 10 people that will share this for me? So then it's not just you posting it, it's going to be 10 people. And then if those 10 people will repost it, it becomes 100 people. And if those 100 people repost it to 10, it becomes 1,000 people. That's the way we are going to blanket this world. And every time we're tagging our congressman on that, right, we want social media to be on fire the way it was with the Ice Bucket Challenge. But this isn't just, we're going to help you make money. We want to help you save our lives. That's what we want here. And so that's going to be our message, right? So we'll get more of that to you in the emails, but start recording your 60-second, 2-minute video, 3-minute video that they will watch. And if it's going to be half an hour, they may not spend time watching it. So we want to start out with the 1 or 2 minute videos. Make your story heard so that it's all over social media.
That's right. And that's brilliant, Michelle. The other thing is always make sure you are thanking them. Thank them in social media, thank them in email. Make sure they know when they did the right thing, make sure the world knows that they did the right thing. And that's what we've done on the caucus. That's what we're doing with these bills, that we're so close to the Insurance Act for ALS. I mean, that's been a long road. We are so close. We need to make sure that all those people that have signed on and that are willing to take that to a vote soon are thanked. You know, they need to know that we felt heard. I've been in DC 3 different times now, and that is just not an easy job for them to sit and listen to people all day long about social injustices and where they really should be helping them. But that doesn't mean that we ever lean back on this disease. We owe it to them in email, on the phone, and rolling the halls of DC to tell them how important it is that we change the trajectory of this disease. ALS has been forgotten, if you will, underfunded, misunderstood, whatever word we want to say, but it's truly madness. And it's up to us to tell them that we will stop the madness.
Well, thank you for that contribution.
As you send those letters off, please make sure that you include a picture of yourself, okay? Or if your friends are sending letters off to their congressman on your behalf, have them share your story and include a picture of, again, yourself. They're more than willing to look and see, but a picture speaks 1,000 words. I mean, it is so powerful to have those pictures there. So that would be something else I would definitely add to your emails.
And
Yeah.
they're all, and every single rep and member of the House of Representatives is running for re-election. They run every 2 years. Some of them have tough races. You can offer to do what's called like an I support so-and-so because, I mean, it'd be great if the ALS community could help Congressman Fortenberry in his re-election if he has a tough one, or, you know, you can do that for them, and their staffers will know what that means and say, can I do a, it's called a Mother T letter. Can I write a letter in support as a constituent? And that is something that you can do too. So I know everyone wants to wrap up and it is getting late. So thank you.
One more thing about the emails really quick is just like on our page and on IMALS's page, it's a generic email that's already written out for you. And Eric and I were just talking about how personalize it, change the subject to make it about you. The first line can be about your story, but personalize those emails. You're able to edit them. You're able to write whatever you want in them. And we're just trying to guide you. But if you personalize it along with the picture, I think it makes all the difference.
Yep, and that's the same exact thing with IMALS. Ours is meant to be customized. They don't want the same email again and again. That's just a nose count at that point. Make them know you. Send your photo, follow up. They are not going to get back to you with 1 or 2 emails. You will get a template letter that says, thank you, we're working on COVID, and we do know about neurodegenerative diseases. You have not made any traction yet. I mean, do not put that letter on your wall. Follow up, follow up, follow up. You tell them, I need you to care about ALS, because once you figure out ALS, we've got a whole line on neurodegenerative diseases. You're not just solving ALS. You're then on to Parkinson's and MS and Alzheimer's. I mean, we have to demand it. HIV is in the winner's circle, guys. We can be a chronic disease should we so choose that we want to be there too.
Absolutely. So I think on those wonderful notes, Tomorrow, we will send out an email with all the ways to customize your individual letter with the picture so that we can send them to our individual legislators and start this movement, as Michelle was so eloquently describing, on how we're going to do both in letter form, personalization through Zoom, as well as social media. On that note, it's 9 o'clock, so we're going to switch over to McFinn. He has always been wonderful in our open forum, allowing everybody to talk together. So if you want to stay and join us, come share your stories, share your tips and tricks. I know he's interested to hear everyone. And this moment will be unrecorded, so it will be a more private conversation, but it will also be open forum, so you can unmute yourself and share what you have to say for these past 2 weeks. Thank you, Nicole, Sandy, Amanda, Eric, Krista, Michelle, Lisa, everybody who has been a part of tonight. It has been a wonderful meeting. Congressman Fortenberry and Congressman Quigley, Alison, Reyn, we've had an incredible 2 hours, and I think this has pushed us all to learn what we need to do and take the next steps. And I think it will be the forward motion that ALS needs to keep fighting the fight. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much. We will see you again in 2 weeks for Jeff Rothstein from the Packard Institute at Johns Hopkins.